Hey everybody, welcome to Wingers and Defenders, episode 3. Of course, I'm joined with Joe and Christian. Today we're going to be talking about a couple different topics, ranging from the Premier League even to La Liga. We're going to start off with Man U's future. They have a really talented team right now, especially with Pogba coming back, in the addition of Bruno Fernandes in the midfield, as well as Mason Greenwood, the 18-year-old coming off, playing on the right wing. And we want to discuss kind of where Man U is headed, what the future's looking like. And we got suggested for this topic from Astro Thunder on Instagram, I believe. So thank you to him for that. So yeah, let's get into it. Start with I guess you, Joe. What do you think about Man U's future with other midfield, along with Greenwood coming up, and how well Martial's been playing?
Well, I think it's very bright right now. I think I'm not a huge fan of Oleg as a manager tactically. I don't think he's the greatest tactical manager out there. I think they could do better there. But right now, he's letting his players play. And when you have the talent they have Bruno, who's a very talented attacking midfielder. You have Pogba, who he's walking into basically every single team in the world. You have Mason Greenwood, who's a stud coming up. He's not 100% there yet, but he's coming into the game and he's making an impact on the game. I mean, I saw firsthand when he came on against Spurs, and he really ran. Him and Pogba really ran our defense and team uh, ragged right there. So I think that the future is very bright for Man United. I think they can obviously compete for a trophy next year. I mean, they're competing for the FA Cup right now. We'll see what happens with that. They could easily win a trophy this year. I mean, it's a shocking turnaround. I mean, I think Bruno was the key factor in that, obviously. And now Pogba's healthy. The question is, can Ole get them a Champions League? Can Ole get them a Premier League title? I don't know about that right now, but is Ole the future for? Is he the future coach for Man United? We don't know, but just based on the question itself, yes, Man United's future is extremely bright, and they have a chance to really once City gets rid of Pep and lose some of their older players, and once Liverpool starts to rebuild because their players are getting a little bit older, they're definitely going to be that team that's going to step up and probably have a chance to run the league for a few years.
Yeah, going on for that, I definitely agree that their future is super bright. You're talking about a team that's got loaded. They're just loaded in the attack. They've got a center back in your Maguire in the past transfer window. They also have Lindelof, which they might need to make work on some things in the defense. But overall, that team is just ready to go. They're showing it now. They've been okay at times this year, but really once we came back from the restart, they've just been almost killing every team. The only team they really struggled against was Norwich, but they really sat back. And then I think they had 38 shots in the FA Cup this weekend. So, and they eventually got through it. And also the other competition they're still in is the Europa League. And I think the only other big major teams that probably could give them some trouble are Inter Milan in the Serie A, and then also Wolves, who are also right there for top four this year, with Leicester and Chelsea dropping points this past mid or match week. But yeah, overall, I think it's going to be interesting to see what they do with Jadon Sancho possibly coming in, because Greenwood looks really good right now. And since they replaced him with Dan James, who's been on and off depending, hasn't really contributed to many goals, but he shows a lot of pace. More suited for the bench, though, coming off the bench. But it's going to be interesting to see if they get Sancho or they decide to take care of maybe another defensive midfielder or a center back. They're kind of good now at right back with Aaron Wan-Bissaka, who's very talented, very young, and showed it this year that he's one of the best right backs in the Premier League. And left back Luke Shaw's looked pretty good. Also, Brennan Williams, another youngster who's looked fantastic, had one great goal against Sheffield United in the earlier part of the year. But overall, I think that this team's future is outstanding. I actually wrote an article, which we'll put in the link in the YouTube video, on about why this team's going to get top four, in my opinion. But overall, I think they are right there to be a challenger next year, depending on what situations and what transfers they make. But this team's just ready to go, no matter who they put on the field. That attack is just too lethal for most defenses to just stop that all.
Yeah, I think this United team is really going to be built around, well, at least Ole and whoever's going to be handling the transfers for United. is going to be built up over the next, I would say, 2-3 windows maybe. This summer for sure, and the winter window next year, and obviously next summer. Who they can get in the defense. I think they need to add a center back personally. They have a decent amount of center backs in the team already, but Lindelof, there's questions around him. He seems like he's very quality at times, but other times he may falter. Maguire is certified. He looks like he's going to be a great player for them. Eric Bailly off the bench. Many Man U fans are iffy on him. He's very injury prone. We don't know what you can get from him. And the youngsters as well that they could come up. But I think a center back, they kind of need a new one. And then, with Jadon Sancho possibly coming in, that kind of gives added competition to the attack that's already lethal as it is. If you add in, Jadon Sancho to that, like those front three, then you could be looking at a front three of Rashford, Martial, and Sancho, which would be crazy. But that would usually mean Greenwood's now on the bench, and Dan James may have to get out of there because Dan James will be out of the rotation if Sancho comes. So I think in the center of the park, at least in the midfield, I think they're set. They're sorted. I think their midfield is good enough to compete in the top 4, top 5 at least. It's just a defense they need a little bit of improvement. Maybe even De Gea. Maybe he needs to make a move somewhere else. He's shown this season that he's been falling off. Actually, last 2 seasons he's been falling off. Maybe Henderson, Sheffield United comes back and becomes number 1 there. Don't know yet. De Gea for me has shown that he has been iffy this year. We don't know if he's going to be that guy for the next couple of years for Man U. I think they're really quality, and they just have to sort out the defense, goalkeeping, and if they add an attacker, I think there's no reason why they're not a top 4 team. It's up to Ole and whoever else is in charge to get the transfers in, and Ole himself to kind of get this I don't know. Formation isn't the word. It's like their setup, how they want to set up and how they want to attack every game. Because it seems like in big games they can win those, but they're not trying to dominate really. They're trying to sit back, wait for them other opposition to attack them, and they go on the counter. We want to see Ole kind of flesh out a strategy so where he can play against any club or opposition and he can just play well and really kind of just prove that he's the man for the job. Because I think he's done well up to this point, but you're not really convinced if he's that guy yet. But definitely Man U really has a brighter future and even possibly top 3 next year, I think, possibly.
Yeah, I agree on that. And I think we should add that, there were rumors before the restart and for a while that Pogba could be moved. And now there's rumors that he's linked to Real Madrid. And I think that who knows if United really wants to sell him at this point, considering how great their future is. But, obviously, if that transfer happens, I don't blame Real Madrid, but that could put a damper into their future. But I guess I don't know if it's really worth discussing. I don't know how much truth there is to that rumor, but I guess it all depends on Pogba and what he wants to do. But even if they do transfer him, they're gonna have how much money from that? That's gonna be over $100 million transfer right there. So
yeah, and another thing,
it's a possibility. Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, it could be over $100 million. I think his play and what he's capable of is over $100 million of value. But teams may worry about, how into the game is he. So that could put a damper on how big that transfer fee really is. But we'll see. He may stay. But yeah.
And another point, which I actually just remembered off the top of my head, but they also have Chris Smalling on loan at AS Roma. Now he's, I believe 33 years old. But he was in the team of the season in Serie A, and he had to have had a good year then. So that's really a more short-term possibility if Roma don't want to keep him, but because he's pretty old. He's I think 33 years old now. But
Possibly.
It's possible that he can come in there and challenge Lindelof, but more often than not, they should be looking for a younger center back for a future partner to Harry Maguire.
What is it with these teams loaning old players off? I don't understand. Spurs just loaned Danny Rose to Newcastle. What's the purpose of these old players getting loans? Just transfer them if you don't want them on your team. Loans are for experienced play.
I would think you would know the answer to that since you're a Spurs fan. I don't know.
Jose doesn't want Danny Rose on the team, but what's the purpose of a loan? transfer him. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what's going on anymore with that. Like,
Yeah, I thought
if you don't want him on the team, he's 33 years old. What benefit does he get of going on a loan? Like, you're not trying to develop any anymore. You just don't want him on your team.
yeah, to be fair, I mean, that Smalling deal, I think, should have been made permanent. It should have just been a permanent move because loaning him out for a year and him performing well in the Serie A makes Roma want to buy him like permanently. So I would think that they'd probably want to make that a permanent deal, not a loan, so he doesn't come back to Manchester United. So
Is
yeah,
there
I
a
think that's
is it a loan with an obligation to buy, kind of like Gio's was?
I'm not too sure, but I know it was a 1-year loan, so they could ask to get him on a permanent. I'm not too sure, but just in case,
yeah.
who
Yeah.
knows what they want to do at this point.
Yeah, they can inquire about signing him permanently, but I'm not sure if they're obligated to like if there's like a fee they could just pay and they'll just take him or not. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's very interesting to see what Manu will do. I forgot about Smalling completely. Actually, he did play well for Roma this season. If he comes in, maybe short-term replacement for Lindelof if they don't think Lindelof is the guy for the job to be a partner for Harry Maguire. But Manchester United across the field, especially in the attack and the midfield, they seem like they're really lethal, and they could be a big problem for teams in the Prem and Europe next season and for years to come. Really.
And they got Fred too. Fred,
Fred, good year.
Yeah,
he's having a good year as well. I mean, they really are set
yeah,
up
that's awesome.
for a champion, a title contending season. So it should be fun to watch.
Yeah, I think like I said the midfield for me is sorted. I think attacking going forward, obviously Bruno and Pogba if he decides to stay, both of those guys just lethal on the attack, and then going box to box or even defensively, Fred and McTominay I think are really good players, especially McTominay. I rate him very highly. McTominay can be a really good player, big and strong guy. Fred all over the pitch, when they get stuck in with tackles, they can be really good if they tie down some of their key players and just put their heads together and figure out a plan how they want to attack the next season. They can be really tough for real. But next, we're going to move on to a question we came up with kind of just what would you rather your team do in a season? Would you rather your team go invincible, like the 2003-2004 Arsenal team? Or would you rather your team become Centurions, which is, I believe, Man City had done 2 seasons ago, if I'm not mistaken, where
17,
you
18.
reach over 100 points or more in a season. So that's a lot of wins. It's a really dominating season, but not fully going invincible. So I guess we'll start with Chris this time. What do you think? Well, if you had Liverpool, which almost went invincible this season, would you rather them go invincible or reach 100 points?
Well, to me, it would be an invincible season, but we're probably going to actually get the Centurion one. I think we're on pace for 105. We did get smacked by Manchester City today, which was, I don't want to talk about it, but that's for another day,
We may discuss that later.
possibly. But besides that, we still have 6 games to go, I believe, and almost every game we should be favored in. I think we only have to play Chelsea and Arsenal, I believe. But overall, I think that for me, an invincible season is by far the biggest thing. Arsenal's one in 2003-04 was with a lot of draws. Don't remember how many. But at the time when we were possibly still going to get our invincible season, we lost to Watford at Vicarage Road. Very bad day. We were almost breaking records at that point. But overall, I think that for me, personally, as a Liverpool fan, if we had got an invincible season this year, I would have lost my head.
I would love to go invincible just so I could spite Arsenal because they're hanging over our heads. Especially because some other stuff happened that season that I don't want to talk about that invincible season. But I'm gonna go. I'd rather go Centurion, and here's why. I think with the invincible season, there's a little bit too much leeway here because obviously the answer is why not just go invincible and be a Centurion at the same time. But I mean, you can go invincible and get 38 draws, I should say. I mean, obviously it's extremely unlikely, but in theory, you don't have to have a great season to go invincible. You could just sit back and then play how you like, and kind of just have a mediocre team go invincible. I mean, you don't have to be that good of a team to go invincible. Like I think the 04-05 Chelsea team is better than the invincible Arsenals. I rate the invincible Arsenal team. Don't get me wrong, but I think they drew a little bit too much for my liking. I think it's more impressive that City for example, I don't remember how many games they lost that year, but they were more. I think you're more of a dominant team if you're going Centurion than Invincible, if that makes sense, because you have to beat your opponent more times. Like, yes, you're dominant by not allowing a goal, but you could draw 1-1 each week and be like, are you really that dominant if you're doing that? You could just score a goal and sit back the rest of the game, and then they score off a set piece or something like that. I think you're more dominant when you literally have to go into each opponent's house and beat them each time. I just think that's more impressive to me.
Um, as an Arsenal fan, this is one of the only things I can actually flex. You've already been invincible, so I want to be a Centurion now. I think being an invincible is something that no Premier League team has accomplished ever, other than us. With as many draws as we had, we did have a lot of draws. I'll admit that. And that year, we should have probably went to the Champions League final, but we did lose, I think, in the semifinal, I believe. I think it's being a Centurion, at least from Arsenal's perspective, would be amazing, because at that point, I think we definitely win the league also. It's very hard to be a Centurion and not win the league unless you're like Liverpool. City almost did it last year. I think Liverpool ended with 99 or 98 last year.
I think it was 97. We ended with
97.
I think it was 97.
Yeah, so like that's kind of like when you're first and second towards the end of the season, you're going to end around there. I think if you get to 100, there's almost no chance you're going to lose a league unless someone loses only like 1 or 2 games all season, really. And that's essentially you're going invincible anyways. So I think as an Arsenal fan, being a Centurion would be fantastic. I think it shows, like Joe said, you're just being a dominant team for the entirety of the season. You can't get 100 points and have off days, really. You may only have 1, maybe 2 a season. Being invincible, you can have an off day and get like 8, 9, 10 draws. It's possible. And you may not be the best team on every single day. But usually when you have 100-plus points, you were the overwhelming like favorite for at least most of those games, or at least did enough to win those games as much as you did. So for me, for Arsenal, Centurion to me seems like it would just be the better than the Invincible.
God, I hate Arsenal so much. Oh, I'd rather go Centurion. We already did the Invincible. I hope you liquidate. I hope your club liquidates. I truly hope your club liquidates, because I just can't take that club. Oh, this makes me sick to my stomach.
I drink your tears. They're delicious. Moving on, Spurs poverty. We'll just move on, please. We'll move on to Leicester's fall off. Since Project Restart has come in the Premier League, Leicester, I believe, was in they still are in third, if I'm not mistaken. Leicester in fourth now.
in third.
They were probably the third best team in the Premier League. I would say overachieving what people expected from them this year. They were probably expected to finish 5th or 6th this season, possibly, with a good team. Maddison and Ndidi, Vardy up top, obviously. A solid defense after they're losing Harry Maguire, but still a solid team, and they're actually overachieving this season. But since Project Restart has come about, they've dropped points. They haven't seemed like their normal what they're usually up to. Maddison isn't able to get going. Vardy, I don't know if he's even scored yet, maybe only once since Project Restart. Leicester has been, rapidly kind of declining, I would say, in the Prem. So, what are your guys' thoughts on that?
I'll go first. I'll go first. All right. Honestly, that team has really, really struggled. Not just in the Premier League, but they also lost an FA Cup this past weekend to Chelsea. Chelsea are playing well, but still at home, you would expect them to put up a fight, and they, I think, played well in the first 20 minutes or so in that game, and then Lampard made some changes in the second half, and Ross Barkley scored the winner. But overall, that team just hasn't played well, and it's not even like they're playing these super talented teams. Their first game was against Watford, and Chilwell scored a great goal, and then Watford came down the field and scored a somewhat of a bicycle kick from a center back. I think it was Craig Dawson, and that turns into a 1-1 draw against a team that's fighting relegation. I don't know who the second game was against, but it might have been Norwich, not too sure, but I think they picked up 2 draws in their first 2 games, and then they played Everton this week and just played horribly. Everton scored twice in the first half, and then they scored off a lucky goal. Iheanacho scored off a deflection, went off him, and they just aren't creating. Vardy's not getting service. Madison didn't start their last game. They also have Ricardo Pereira, who's not available to some injury, which is playing a role, but it's one position. They should still be beating teams like Watford, who are just trying to survive the league. And yet they're still in third, which is ridiculous. And if they are able to get top 4, this is probably going to be the craziest thing ever at this point, because they're playing so badly and they're just like squeaking by with just draws. I can't even imagine. And there's rest of their 6 games is, I'm pretty sure it's pretty tough. So if they find a way to get top 4 and somehow get away from United, Chelsea, even Wolves, it's going to be ridiculous because they just are not playing well at this moment in time.
Yeah, so I did a little bit of like extra research on what's been going on with them because everyone was talking about this team has a great offense. Madison's such a great attacking midfielder. He's better than Dele. Jamie Vardy, he's so good. He's back to his 2015 form. Well, here's the thing. Since January, they've only scored more than 2 goals in a game once. I don't know what's happening with this attack, but if you could only score 2 goals in a game since January once, and that was against Aston Villa, you're a sorry team. I'm sorry. And it seems like they're the Rockets in the Western Conference Finals out here because they're taking the Everton game, 15 shots, only 3 were on target. The Norwich game, 16 shots, 4 were on target. What are they doing? Are they just shooting the ball? They're not even aiming at the target. They can't. They're trying to put a beach ball into the ocean and they're missing completely. I don't know what's going on with them because they're just shooting to shoot. It's like they're blindfolded out there. They're a headless chicken trying to score a goal right now. Their defense, respect to their defense hasn't been bad. But offensively, they're touted as this offensive machine because they scored 9 goals against Southampton. Credit to them. But since then, what have they done? They've just been a poor team. And when you're taking Watford, they had 15 shots, 2 were on target. 2. You had 2 shots on target the entire game, and you expect to win and get top 4? Come on, that's mid-table level. Mid-table level.
Looking at their next 6 fixtures, their next game is Saturday against Crystal Palace. Then they play Arsenal next week, Bournemouth, Sheffield United, Tottenham, and they finish season versus Manchester United. Now, in those games, they're favored in probably 3 of those games, but with their form currently, they look like they could draw or lose almost all those games except for probably Bournemouth. They could probably beat Bournemouth. I'll give them that. But even with how poor Spurs have been in recently, they may have a tough time against them. Man U, they'll probably lose that game. Sheffield, you don't know what they can get from Sheffield. Leicester, we really don't know what you're going to get from them. Crystal Palace, I mean, they may get points there. They could probably get 3. Against us on the 7th, I'm not sure really what we're going to get out of the game. Maybe a draw. I really don't know. What I'm seeing from Leicester is a lack of concentration, really. I don't know if that's down to the players in the attack or it's down to Brendan Rodgers, who I thought was 30. I thought he was one of the best, this guy, he was former Liverpool manager, went to Celtic or Rangers. I can't remember which club he was at before. Celtic? Was it Celtic? And then he comes back to Leicester, and he actually has a really good season. You look like, okay, Brendan Rodgers may be top 5 manager in the Prem. It looks like he's a very good manager. And then they come out with Project Restart, and they're kind of just dropping the ball. It's almost like everything they did before has just gone away. They look like they're a mid-table side, like Joe said. They look like they're a mid-table side. They have the build-up play, the midfield play. The defense isn't even that poor, even with Pereira out, who I think is a really good right back. They have all that, but they can't find an extra something. And I'm looking, I don't think Vardy has scored in their past 5 games or 4. They played Watford, Brighton. I'm sorry, I didn't hear what you said.
He has not scored since the restart. I can confirm that. I don't know what he did previous to that, but
yeah, well, it's crazy because he's joint top of the Prem with Aubameyang in 19 goals on this season. and he should have more. He should be running away with it, to be fair. But he hasn't found the back of the net since we've restarted. I don't know. It's mind-boggling to me because I know they're a quality team. I know they're high quality. The only reason that they haven't dropped out of the tower off of third is because Chelsea choked against West Ham. They bottled it. If Chelsea doesn't bottle that game, you could see Leicester dropping down the table. Wolves and Man U are right there, I think. Maybe, yeah, if Leicester drops points, Man U can be equal with them on points. And goal differential, they're leading by 9 goals. So, but Man U is right there in points. If Leicester continue to have this, they could end up being 6th or 7th if they keep this up. If Chelsea picks up the slack, Man U starts to get results. Wolves, they play us in a few days. If they can get points, Leicester team could go from being comfortable third place team to possibly 6th or 7th if they're not careful. And I thought Brendan Rodgers has a control over this team. I'm not sure if he does anymore. And I think it comes down to the attack. Joe said, having 15 shots and 2 on target against, like teams that are not high quality, the teams that are organized, that are looking to kind of play defense, they're breaking them down, but they can't get that final ball, that final end product. They can't get that, which they had all season up until this point. And I don't know what's going on with them, and it's really sad to see. I think they have a lot of potential. I don't think they're challenging City or Liverpool, but they're one of those top teams along with Chelsea, Man U, that can really just challenge and fight, and they can compete with almost any team in the Prem really on their day. But right now they're looking like they're in the mud, really. I really don't know what to say. Their next game is against Crystal Palace on Saturday. They can get a result there, but if they don't get a result there, they're in big trouble, really. Because after that, they have Arsenal, then they'll play Sheffield, Tottenham, and Man U to end the season. That's going to be rough.
It's about to be a Zaha party, not a party. My guy Zaha's going crazy.
He's got 6 goal contributions. He's not doing I almost think that Leicester should get points, but the way they've been playing, and Palace haven't been bad, but Palace also lost to Liverpool, and then I don't know what result they got in their last game. They played, I forget who it was, but they've been mediocre at best, and overall, I think that they need to figure out what they're doing.
They lost to Burnley 1-0.
Correct. Yes,
That's
correct.
That's a Burnley result.
That was what it was, which is bad.
That is a
If you look at Burnley's
result.
bench, bench.
Going back to Burnley, if there's one team that I could see going invincible with 38 draws, it's Burnley.
It's Burnley.
I could see them somehow just scraping away 38 draws.
Yeah, I think the Burnley manager, Sean Dyche, as well as Eddie Howe, maybe the biggest frauds in England managerial positions, honestly. I think Sean Dyche is a decent manager when it comes to like attacking play, but I mean not attacking play, but it's like he's a manager getting results. But as far as attacking and like how you want to like break down a team, he's clueless to me. Burnley does not have the talent to do that, nor do they have the the personnel to really do it. Burnley could honestly go whole season invincible with drawing every game, to be fair. Yeah, Leicester, I think, are in big trouble if they do not get points against Crystal Palace. Joe brings up Zaha with less goal contributions than Pepe. But we'll move on. Again, another L from Joe. But anyways, we'll move on.
You hate to see it.
I think the last –
You hate to see it.
Elaborate, please. Before we move on, elaborate, please.
Pepe, man, you holding on to someone who's a flop. It's a shame. It's a shame. Just admit
it's a shame. Yeah. It is. It is. The $17 million flop who's playing better than Zaha, who you rate highly, and is currently at Arsenal that's higher ranked that is above Spurs currently in the table.
Well,
so again, this is a huge L. We're having our worst season ever. But we'll move on. Okay, last topic. We're gonna move away from the Prem, and we're gonna go to a topic submitted by one of our viewers. Thank you for him. Manu has suggested what's going on with Barcelona. In the La Liga, they look like they haven't been themselves lately. They have a lot of problems with sort of injuries and just like, Dembele, where has he been? Griezmann, that transfer seems like it was terrible for Barcelona in his career. And Messi, what's he going to do? We're looking at like Barca team that really isn't showing much in the La Liga, bottling it. Real Madrid looking like they're going to win this if they keep this up. So I guess we'll start with Chris. What do you guys think about Barca, where they're at right now?
I honestly can't put into words what they're doing. All I can tell you is that Griezmann transfer was just destined to be a flop from the beginning. You're asking a dude that's just his best position is playing as a central player, either as a 9 or a 10, and he's shown at, for example, at France when they play Giroud as a target man, he's playing alongside him or a little bit under him, or he's playing by himself for Atletico before he was made the transfer. That was just I don't even know what they were doing. They were just taking the best available player in the market and said, let's put him on the team and see what he can do with Messi, because Messi should make everybody better, right? Well, that's wrong. And they clearly just don't know what they're doing in the market. Once Messi's gone, I think this team is destined to be mid-table. You're literally looking at a team that is so reliant on one dude that's in his mid-30s, which Ronaldo's the same, but it's just unacceptable from a team that's supposed to be one of the best in the world. It was against Atletico at home, and it was a must-win game. And they don't bring on Griezmann till then. It was stoppage time, and he's not performing.
Yeah.
He's not doing well. But you're in a must-win game. Why are you not bringing on a world-class player, a World Cup champion in his prime? Why are you not bringing him on in a must-win game when you have to win? Because Real Madrid's not dropping points. They beat Getafe today 1-0. They're still getting results. You have to pick up points, and you're drawing at home to a team that just sits back. Like, it's just purely unacceptable. And to put my words into conclusion, they are a mess and they're going nowhere. Once Messi's gone, this team's mid-table.
Well, I kind of agree with that, but I think there's a little bit more that's going to happen that's kind of going on here. So we look at Barcelona's prime, MSN, when they had Iniesta and all those guys. Messi came up. They came up through the academy. They came up. Barcelona, they're known for their academy. But recently, Barca's academy, who have they produced recently that's been on their first team? I mean, recently. I mean, obviously, we still Messi. The issue is, during that time, these academy players weren't able to get time on the first team. And with that being the case, they couldn't develop. We know Barcelona, they make transfers. They have money to spend. But, I mean, they're known just for their academy players being the driving force for the team. And because they haven't had that, they've been lagging there because they can't get time. Even the promising ones can't get time on first team, which hinders their growth. And then the stars of yesterday, MSN and all them, and all those teams before that, they're getting older. Suarez, he's looking like he's on his last legs over there. Messi, he's still great, but we're seeing injuries. So I think what's going to happen here is there's going to be a downturn. They're kind of going up. We saw them go up. They kind of plateaued for a little bit. Then they're starting their downward trend right now. I think after a while, the academy is going to get better. They're going to get more chances at some point, and I think from there they're going to come back up. And I think it kind of happens. We look at it in the NFL. You have a team. You have your dynasty. Once the dynasty's over, you lose. You're not getting good draft picks. The younger players can't make the team. They're going to go down. They're going to have a few years where they're in the basement of the league. I mean, obviously, Barcelona has too much money for them to go into the basement of La Liga, but I don't think we're going to see them compete for a Champions League title for a few years. I don't think we're going to see them really compete for a La Liga title, depending on how seriously Real Madrid takes the league. And I don't think we could. I think Atletico is going to jump them in a year or two as well. So I think it's a transition period for Barcelona. They're going to have to start getting away from their older players because they're moving on and start investing in youth. I mean, they could try to transfer for a lot of players, but even then, who knows how well that's going to work? We've seen their transfers not work out well. Coutinho, that's been a huge flop for them. Griezmann, been a huge flop for them, like you said, Christian. So I think we're approaching a new era in Barcelona football, and it's not looking too good for it right now, but it's still Barcelona, and you have to have faith that they're going to turn it around at some point.
Yeah, I can't say that I watch Barcelona week in and week out, so I can't really speak on everything about around them. I do know at the top of their club, as far as their board and their management, all of that, there's problems there. I think their head of football is Florentino Perez, and he seems very corrupt. He seems like he's a guy that many Barcelona fans do not like. And I think that trickles down to the players. I think, you know, interesting deal with Pjanic going to Barca and them giving up Arthur earlier in the week. I think it's a strange deal because Arthur, I think, is one of their better players and performers this season. And when you sell your best player for that and bring in Pjanic, who I think is a good player, but I think Arthur younger looks like he's going to be a better player than him. When that deal happens, I'm not sure what they're thinking in that sense. And with Griezmann coming on the 90th minute against his former club, and you even have Diego Simeone, Atletico Madrid manager, kind of like laughing at him, like you left our club to join this like this huge club that can't even bring you on to the stoppage time. It's poor from Barca, and they're starting to get exposed. Really, I think Madrid, who has had an up and down season with Eden Hazard and had other injuries, things like that. I think Barca is kind of showing that this may be their last year or two that they're on top, or they seem like they are on top. They may finish first or second. Well, you could see once Messi plays the next season or two in his contract or whatever, he may be out of there. We don't know what happens with him. They need to kind of bring up the youth. I think Ansu Fati, who had a good season this year, came up from the academy. He's the only product I can think of recently that's come up and gotten good minutes, and not even consistently this season. So, Barca really looks like they're in the mud right now. They can turn it around, but it starts with, the directors of football, everything like that, and the management, the team, how they want to move forward. It's rough right now for them, but they can bounce back. If anyone, Barca can bounce back, but it's gonna take time for sure. Yeah, but I don't know if we got anything else to say. Anything you guys want to add about Barca or any of the other topics?
I think we're good.
Still can't believe about today, man. Disgusting.
Yes,
Get VAR
yes,
out of football now. Get VAR out. VAR out. That's
well,
going to be my name next week. Next episode.
although it wasn't VAR's fault, it was a rough result. It was a bad decision. But I do want. All right, so yeah, guys, that's our third episode of Wings and Defenders. Hope you guys enjoyed. Talked about a lot of good topics, a lot of good conversation, and yeah, I think we really got a lot of stuff done today. And looking forward to our next episode. And yeah, thank you guys for everything. See you next one.